So it's a continuous, well done to all of our staff that goes out and works to make sure that is, but it's also about the partnership approach and the amount of effort that other people put in and the pride that people have in Enniskillen themselves to keep it in such a good way. So just to note the good work done on all of those projects. And of course, as chair over the month, I had the privilege of going to a lot of very, very good events and meeting wonderful people there. And to that end, we always say that any of us that had the privilege of taking the position of chair, that you get the opportunity to see wonderful activities taking place and go to meet wonderful people. So in that vein, to be able to share it with the rest of you, I got the Leanne and the communications people to put out the good news story. So when you get a wee chance, have a look at that and sort of see what you think. And hopefully we can continue that and put it out each month just to keep you abreast and aware of the different things that's going on throughout the council area. Okay. I want to then move to take apologies, and I'm going to go to John. If you want to stick on your light there, John, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly, Councillor Anne-Marie Fitzgerald, Councillor Bodwin Kelly, and Councillor Gavin Kelly.
Okay. John. And Victor.
Thank you, Chair. Councillors John McCloughery and Alan Rainey. Thank you.
Okay. Paul.
Apologies from Democratic Unionist, Chair.
Okay. Cheers, Paul. And SDLP, Adam, there?
Yeah, none from the SDLP. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. And Stephen?
No apologies from Alliance, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. And Josephine DNA's an apology, I believe. So, okay. Thank you all very much. And what I want to do now is move to sign the minutes of the annual general meeting on the 5th of June. And yeah. So we'll take page 1. Page 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. Okay, I have a proposer and second. Paul, thank you. And Stephen. Thank you, Stephen McCann. Okay. You want me to sign name? Yeah, okay. Right. Yeah. So we're going to go on then to the council meeting then of the 6th of June. We're going to take those for accuracy. Page 1, page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Proposer and second, Victor and Debbie. Thank you. Okay, and we're going to move to declaration of interest. Not seeing any. Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. Declaration of interest under 13.0 report of the Planning Committee as a member of the Board of Governors at Drummer Integrated College.
Okay, thanks, Stuart. No others indicating, so I'm going to move to item number 5. So that's the matters arising out of the 5th. So we're going to go to page 1, 2, 3, 4. Debbie?
Thanks, Chair. Just on point 5.4, I just wondered if any contact had been made with Gambling with Lives because it had been passed through the last council.
Debbie, are you on the right side of minutes now? This is the 5th
Are we on matters arising with
Yeah.
council minutes?
annual meeting.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I was reading the wrong one.
It's okay. So we're at page 4, page 5, 6, 7, 8.
Chair, just in relation to page 8 and it's the nominations to the other bodies which are appended in Appendix B to the minute, just to advise in relation to, it's the last page of that report, the Tullyvar Landfill Site Joint Management Committee, that the SDLP have chosen to relinquish their position on that committee. So the nominations that we have, the 4 members are listed. There would be an opportunity should Alliance wish to avail of that position. So we would offer that at this juncture, Chair.
Stephen?
Happy to nominate Councillor Roof for that role.
Okay, if we need a second. Yep. That's grand. Amend accordingly. Okay, and page 9. Yeah, get rid of that. Okay. Okay, we're going to go to Tuesday, 6th of June, and this is for matters arising. So that's page 1, 2, 3, 4. This is page 3, Debbie, yeah?
No, page 4.
Yeah, okay, we're going to move to page 4 now, Debbie, so go on ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just on 5.4. I just wondered if any contact had been made with Peter from Gambling with Lives based in Urbanstown, because they are a local gambling addiction support group, and it had been agreed a few months back now that they would come in and do a presentation to the council to inform us of all the work that they do and support that they can offer people with gambling addictions. So I just wondered if that had been done yet, please.
So, Chair, just to confirm, we have made contact with, I suppose, all of the various informal meetings, and we're trying to get as many of those scheduled over the summer months. There were about 27, I think, that we were waiting in the period of pre-election sensitivity, and members will have seen those starting to come into the diaries. So we'll get those all scheduled, including the group that Councillor Coyle has mentioned.
Okay, moving on to page 5.
Chair, 2 items, please. Chair, just if I could highlight to members, the correspondence received from the Western Health and Social Care Trust. This is in relation to the second main resolution on that paper, and it related to a number of queries the council had raised regarding the A&E Department of South West Acute Hospital, the costs around the private ambulance cover, the details of waiting times at Altnagelvin, the status of the appointments of 2 consultant surgeons, and the arrangements when those patients transferred from SWA A&E are brought to Altnagelvin, and the associated handling arrangements for those patients.
Okay, thanks, Alison. Diana?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Alison, for the letter you issued. Just in response or a reaction to the letter. I'm really not happy with the response given. I think it leaves an awful lot unsaid, and I still have major worries about disclosure. When we look, for example, at the ambulances, the chief executive has said average of 2 days, 2 patients per day were admitted to Athnagelvin by ambulance for emergency surgery. But of the 9,000 patients going into SWA, how many were admitted but for assessment, but didn't have to be admitted to Athnagelvin? There's a large volume of traffic travelling by ambulance there. And also, on the other point of the 2 additional ambulances per day, this doesn't take account the number of private car users going to the hospital to Athnagelvin. I'd like to see information on the number of patients transferring by their own means, because that's a significant amount. We'd need that data as well. I propose that we write back seeking that information. Furthermore, in point 4 with the 2 consultant surgeon appointments, we're being told that the candidates have indicated they would accept the post and that they have requested a deferral until August 2024. But is an indication sufficient to give us an assurance that these positions will be filled, and will they be filled in Southwest Acute Hospital? I do recall at one of the consultation meetings, Mr. Goodkin saying that consultants in Rota had to live within 30 minutes of the hospital. So I'm hoping that these consultants will also be able to live within 30 minutes of the hospital in Enniskillen. And again, moving towards the paragraph that mentions, let me see if I can find it here, the consultant general surgeons, as we move to maximise capacity and capability at Omaday Procedure Centre and SWAT Overnight Elective Stay Centre, does this indicate that the decision about the removal of emergency services will be permanent? That's my fear from this letter. So I would like clarity just on those points. I propose that we seek further clarity from the Chief Executive. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, yep. Have we a seconder? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Diana note.
Yeah. Okay, Diana, will you note the correspondence then as well?
Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Seamus?
Thank you, Chair. Like Diana there, I am very disappointed in this letter or this response. The consultants are, this is July 2023. I believe they're going to let us know by, is it August or September 2024? I thought it was actually a misprint. That's what I was going to, the question I had was that a misprint? But I presume it's not. Is there any explanation why there's such a time lag in that? And the other question or thing that I saw was that patients going from Fermanagh and Tyrone had to wait twice in A&E. So they were waiting in SWA in A&E, and then when they had to be moved, contrary to promises that was made, because there was not enough beds in Athnagelvin, they were having to wait in A&E there as well. I find that extremely disappointing. Once again, broken promises. I did note that they were trying to open up beds in some other ward, but just how much planning has went into this when it could fall so quickly behind. So I'd actually want to see reassurances that will never happen again, that sick people from Fermanagh are going to wait in A&E in SWA and then A&E in Athnagelvin when they're moved there after a very long and arduous journey from Fermanagh to Derry. It's outrageous. So I'd like, if we are writing to ask them questions in relation to 2024, the consultants. I'd also like to the reassurance that that's never going to happen again, where people has to wait twice, especially after travelling that journey. So I propose that.
Seamus, are you happy to second the noting? And Diana, are you happy enough if those are included in the letter? Yep. And then Seamus, are you happy to second that then overall. Are we all agreed with that, members, so far? And I'm going to bring Mark in.
Thank you, Chair. And if I could just make a proposal, or in addition to Diana and Seamus's comments so far, I think it would be useful if we were to write back to the trust and ask them to detail the activity or the activity levels really in the elective overnight centre to date. And importantly, if we could now ask as a council for a rolling update on the activity levels, because I find unless we ask the trust for a rolling update, sometimes the spotlight moves on from the issue. So if I can make that as a proposal, as an addition to what's
Yep.
being discussed.
Would you be happy enough there? Yep. Had you any idea on a roll? What?
As
Monthly,
in
is it?
a frequency. I mean, ideally monthly. I mean, I'm really not one of these people that like sending off letters for the sake of sending off letters, but I mean, it is relatively easy or extractable data, so it shouldn't be too much of a
Yeah.
burden for the trust to provide that data, particularly even if it's only for 6 month basis. Or
No, it's just that I find that if we're not specific on everything, it sort of gets lost in translation. So a month there, are we all happy enough with that? Yes? Okay, John?
Thanks, Cahilloch. I don't want to make a proposal, but I just really want to highlight the fact that the trust has spent £150,000 on private ambulances in 5 months. And also want to highlight that the average NHS consultant surgeon salary is 108,000 per year. It just beggars belief that the trust has let themselves get into such a scenario that they're giving private companies 150,000 instead of just going out and employing. Well, you could get 3 to 4 consultants for that price that they're going to spend over the price of a year. It's just crazy.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, members, that's grand. We're going to move on then. Yes, on page 5, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Just the second letter just under the Department of Health, and it's the response from the Permanent Secretary in relation to the delivery plan submissions, the activity levels, and the breakdown is provided in accordance with the information the Council had previously requested, Chair.
Mark?
Thank you, Chair. And if I could make a further proposal that we write back to the department, and it was an oversight on my part from the original proposal at last month's meeting, but if we could ask them to detail how that compares to pre-pandemic activity, because that's the important baseline. February 2020 is the date on which all activity is measured against. Because whenever I read that letter, March 2023, there were 10,000 or 10,500 attendances, which sounds very impressive. But in reality, I have a feeling that that's maybe only around 80%, or according to the Trust's own figures from elsewhere, that's still only 80% of pre-COVID activity. So in fact, that 10,500 is still significantly below the level that the Trust needs to be operating at. So it would be useful just, if I could repeat, just to how that compares to pre-pandemic, the service delivery plan baseline of February 2020.
Base, yeah. Okay. Anthony?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. And Mark, you're happy to note the correspondence there, and Anthony, you're happy to second. Okay. Are we all agreed there, members? Yep. Okay. We're going to move on then to page 5, and then page 6, and page 7.
Thank you, Chair. We have a response from Invest Northern Ireland, and this is in relation to the Council's queries regarding the forthcoming investment summit. And also, maybe members, I'd refer you at this juncture to your other correspondence folder where there's a response as well from the Department for the Economy. So you'll have seen from the Invest NI letter that this event is due to be held in Belfast on the 13th of September. It's a one-day event. Because of the fairly confined programme, there won't be an opportunity for outward visits, but they have undertaken that the team will be in contact to arrange a general update meeting. The only information that's been shared to date, Chair, is that there is to be a reception for the chairs, mayors and equivalents the evening before the event in Belfast, and that the summit, as is indicated, is in the ICC, which I think is the former Waterfront Hall. So that's as much as we know at this point. We'll obviously share any information as and when it's received.
Okay, thanks, Alison. Seamus?
Thank you, Chair. It's ironic again that this event's been held in Belfast, especially after the report we got into how Invest NI had failed other parts of the north. But at the first opportunity they put their international investment conference in Belfast, you know, it defies belief that we've had report after report, and we as a council and as individual councillors have been on to Invest NI of how they failed, especially west of the Bann, and it just seems to end up on a deaf ear. I don't know where to go with it. It's just it's Belfast, 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 Derry, Belfast, Belfast, Belfast. That seems to be all they can see. So and for some reason, possibly they see that Belfast is an easier sell than anywhere else, but I don't think that's their remit anymore. I think their remit is to bring investment into the north, not to bring investment into Belfast. And again, they're selling Belfast. The best will in the world, no matter who we send down from here to Belfast, it's Belfast that it is. It's Belfast these people are coming to, and it'll be Belfast that'll get the benefit of it.
Okay. David?
Thank you, Chair. Alison, do you envisage we will get, as a council, an opportunity to promote the area at that summit at all, or any sort of engagement at all, or?
Chair, genuinely, we've received little more than the letter. I think it's highly unlikely. I think there appears, this seems to have been driven mainly from the Department of, well, what was Business, Enterprise and Investment in Westminster. And I think they are looking at potentially some sectoral areas of proposed investment, but there certainly has been no indications at this stage even how you would exhibit or seek an opportunity to promote the area or to promote businesses or any wider information around the guest list other than the pre-event reception. So very, very sketchy. I mean, certainly I think we should avail of the opportunity for the officials to meet with us. I know from speaking informally with Invest NI that I think they too are awaiting clarification, particularly from Westminster, as to how this will actually be delivered.
Well, could I propose maybe, if possible, that we write back to them and we make our feelings known to them, and to see if we are going to be given an opportunity to promote the area. And, you know, it is, as Councillor Green has said, it is a bit of a joke that this always is in Belfast, you know, and the people, whoever comes over from around the world, wherever they're coming from, Belfast as far as they're going to get, you know, they're not going to see what we have on offer down here. So I would propose that we write to them and ask what interaction we might get and possibility of putting this area forward as a council. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I think that's very good. At the very least, seeing it, they seem very determined to hold it in Belfast. At least there would be some recognition that there is life outside of Belfast and that the regions like Fermanagh and Omagh get some promotion out of it. Diana?
Thank you, Chair. And if I could add to Councillor Mahon's proposal, if we could request foresight of who these international investors are, that we could match like for like, where we think that we have sectoral engagement that could take place.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So we would have, and are you happy to second David's? Yeah. All agreed, members? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Moving on page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, 12, 13. Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. Just on page 12. You'll recall, Chair, last month this council passed a motion calling on the Attorney General to consider a fresh inquest into the killing of Patsy Kelly. Well, there's been a few developments since that was passed. Last Monday, the 26th, as part of a judicial review hearing, the Attorney General advised that she would reconsider her original decision not to hold a fresh inquest, and subsequently then she notified the family the following Thursday that she would indeed grant a fresh inquest, which is very welcome news for the family, and it's a milestone moment, I suppose, on their truth for justice for their husband and for their father. And I would just like to pass on some thanks, some more thanks from the family to this council for their supportive messages that was conveyed during the debate of the motion. The family watched the debate live on YouTube, and we're very heartened and enthused by some of the comments from the chamber, and indeed to receive the corporate endorsement from the council as a whole. So just to pass it on, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Moving on to page 13. 14.
Chair, just to advise correspondence from Libraries NI, so it's a positive update in relation to the work at 5 Mile Town Library. So that you'll have seen the contracts awarded, the funds have been allocated by the Department for Communities, and works will commence this year, and it's envisaged a 12-month construction period due to start later in the summer.
Okay, positive news there. Oh yes, can I have a proposer to note all?
Thank you, Chair. It's very welcome news. It's been idle this vacant sites for a long time now, so it's good to see something's going to happen on it very soon. So I'll propose to note.
Okay, thanks. And Barry?
Yeah, just to propose that maybe later in the year, not urgent, but that we might have an informal meeting with Libraries NI. They're a brilliant partner. I visited a number of libraries recently and never failed to be impressed, by the welcome, by the range of services, and by how come they're increasingly being used as community centres, and there's more and more people in them. And it's not like your old image of a library where you have to it's not all that, you can talk to people. There's all kinds of activities there on a day-to-day basis. So I think we should learn more about our libraries NI, by having an informal meeting later this year, and I would propose accordingly.
Are you willing to second the noting
Yep.
of the correspondence? Thank you, Barry. And Stephen?
Yeah, and just a second, Councillor McLaug's proposal there, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And we all agreed, members? Okay. Page 15 and 16. Okay. That moves us on nicely then to point 7. That's the consider the report of Environmental Services Committee meeting held on the 7th of June. And we take them for accuracy first and then the matters arising. So for accuracy first, page 1, page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And who is Debbie? You're proposing, and the seconder, Roy? Okay. We're going to move to matters arising, page 1, page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. We're going to go to point 9 to consider a report of the Regeneration Community Committee held on the 13th of June. For accuracy first, page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Mark, are you happy to?
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose.
Thank you. And the seconder, Diana. All agreed? Okay, matters arising, page 1. 2. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Okay, moving on to 11. So this is to consider a report of Policy and Resources Committee meeting held on the 14th of June. For accuracy, page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and Stephen, you happy to propose? Thank you. And the seconder? And Shirley? Thank you. Matters arising, page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Marty?
Thanks, Chair. Just looking at this, and really it's about fireworks in Enniskillen and Omagh. And I know last year I was disappointed that the fireworks didn't take place in Omagh. And quite a few people had also expressed disappointment at that. And on the doors prior to this election, I have been lobbied quite heavily about that and asked to ensure that it would happen this year. So obviously I said I would mention it if I got into council. Having looked at the minutes, I can see that there's a decision has already been taken that the council wouldn't be running fireworks in either Enniskillen or Omagh this year. But from reading in the press, it seems that the fireworks are going to maybe happen in Enniskillen through the bid or whatever. And I would like to make a proposal that the council officers would engage with the businesses in Omagh to try to ensure that a fireworks display could happen in Omagh this year as well.
Chair, happy to take that. Beg your pardon, happy to take that proposal. I think just on maybe two aspects. Firstly, my understanding is Enniskillen bid, which would be the Business Improvement District, while they'd initially considered doing a fireworks display, are not actually doing fireworks. So there'll be a community fun day instead in the Diamond and associated areas. And just to confirm, council officers have received some communications representations from local businesses in Omagh who are interested in exploring the option around fireworks for Omagh, and arrangements are being put in place for a meeting in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Marty. And Earl?
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to Councillor McColgan for raising the issue. I suppose when we're on the doors, especially in around Omagh, we've been all lobbied on this by the constituents. And if he's making that a proposal, just to keep it formal again, Chief Executive, I'm happy enough to second Councillor McColgan's proposal that engagement does take place. We haven't got down Omagh Town Centre Forum anymore, but we have Omagh Chamber of Commerce and Industry still there and other businesses. So if we can have that formal engagement with them, that would be ideal. So I'm happy enough to second that, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Earl. Are we all agreed, members? Okay, thank you. Anything else on 5? 6, 7, 8, 9. All right.
Just on page 8, it's clear that 7.2, the issue of bid arose, and I think we're to try to establish, how long after the rejection of a bid plebiscite or referendum among businesses, if that was rejected, how many years would have to elapse before you could attempt to, revive a bid in Oma? Because I detect some appetite on the part of businesses to go down that route if that route is open to them in the future. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Chair, we're just waiting for a final confirmation from the Bids Academy on this. My understanding is it's a 5-year period, but we will, again, when we have that formal confirmation, report back accordingly.
Okay, Earl?
Thank you again, Chair, and thanks to Alison for that. I suppose it's been maybe, not sure exact timeline, but I think it's probably 3 years from that bid that we tried for a bid through with involvement with the Town Centre Forum again and other businesses. So if Councillor McAdopton, I know we were in a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce there recently with regard to this and other issues. I'm happy enough to support that as well, that we look at when we can engage the timeline for engagement there again.
Okay, we have the formal proposal actually from the committee, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Seamus?
Thank you. I hope I'm on the right page here. Is in relation to the AF4 and try and set up the working group on the AF4 again. I had wrote to the Department of Infrastructure I asked them, could they give me the stats on the number of deaths that had occurred on the AF4 from 2010. I went with 2010 because that was the year that the new dual carriageway opened up, and I thought if I asked before that, the old road would be included in that. So from 2010, from the dual carriageway opened up, from then a bit at Ballagally on to the end of the A4, 19 people have lost their lives in them 13 years, and that's over 1.5 people per year on average has died on the A4. So I'm really anxious for this, for us to get a working group up and going as soon as possible. So just to comment on that, to let people know that's what the stats are.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so recommendations there, so we'll work through there. Okay. Page 9, 10, 11. Okay. And we're going to move to 13 now, and that's to confirm the minutes of the Planning Committee meeting held on the 21st of June. And for accuracy, page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Robert?
Thanks, George. Chair, Tom, happy to propose the minutes.
Okay, thank you. And Earl's well into second. Okay. And we have matters arising then out of those minutes. So page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Okay, members? Correspondence then? I've already dealt with, so then we go to our notice of motion, and that's vaping by children and young people is a growing public health crisis, and that is being proposed by Barry McElduff and then by an alternative seconder. Then Stephen is going to come in on that. Okay, Barry.
Thanks very much, Kylie. Thank you. I'm pleased to propose this motion highlighting the growing public health crisis, which is vaping by children and young people. So you have the motion before you. There's 4 elements to it. First one is calling on the council to convene an urgent roundtable meeting with the PHA, with the Public Health Agency, the Department of Health, Department of Education, Education Authority, and other relevant bodies and stakeholders regarding this growing public health crisis. And secondly, then it notes that vaping products are designed to be attractive to children. I do say children because we're talking about 11-year-olds in many cases. And also to note that all are addictive, damaging to health, and contain harmful substances. People might dispute, the level of research locally and internationally, but I think everybody's agreed that they are addictive, damaging to health, and contain harmful substances. Also then, the council itself, with regard to our own estate and premises, etc., to reaffirm our ban on vaping at sites and premises under our control, and to seek a strengthening of current legislation regarding the sale of vaping products and associated enforcement regulations. And then finally, that we further note that disposable vapes are increasingly being discarded on our pavements, at our beauty spots, on beaches, just everywhere, thereby presenting a further threat to our environment. So really what I'm saying is we need to act as a council. We're all aware to varying degrees that this is bad for health. And I'm emphasizing the consumption here of vaping products by children and young people. Age groups, some research has been done in the 18 to 34 category. Very little research has been done on the 11 to 17 category. I've read recent articles in The Guardian by Emine Sonair and in the Ulster Herald by Callum McGuigan. Good focus articles on the problem. I have the Guardian article in front of me here. The headline is, "Mum, I can't go on any longer. I really need a vape." And that's a 12-year-old. Really struggling here with me GCSEs and resorting to vapes, to be a stress reliever. It says here, 1 in 5 15-year-olds vaped in 2021, but the current figure is expected to be much higher. The Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health said disposable vapes should be banned because of their popularity among children and young people, partly thanks to their bright colours, sweet flavours, and low prices. And it says here that a vape can be the equivalent of 28 cigarettes, and that would be smoked in one day by a young teenager. So this is a massive crisis of our time, in my opinion. I consulted a local student who joined me on work experience recently, and he himself said that he vapes. He has easy access to them. He said it's a stress reliever, and he would spend £6 a day on them. Now, the other evening, in a shop, the lady behind the counter told me that there's a new brand has emerged, MK Bar 7000. And it says that it has the impressive capacity of up to 7,000 puffs. You're really doing well with that one. Disposable vape device, nicotine strength, 20 milligrams. And it actually describes itself in the branding and marketing as fashionable and healthy. Fashionable and healthy. 10 different flavors: strawberry mango ice, latte vanilla, pink lemon, apple peach and pear, etc., etc. Now, these are designed to be attractive. That's how they're being marketed. Now, I would like young people, or a representative group for young people, to be at the centre of this discussion and debate, because we're not attacking children, young people. We're trying to help, is the main message.
You have 15 seconds, Barry.
Okay, so I think I'll just show you something in the final 15 seconds. I've never seen this done before in the chamber, but it's an exhibit. And this was vapes that were collected in a 200-metre stretch in Oma Town Centre, recently there. So either side, they're dropping off, So there's the various colours. They look like highlighters. There's a nice wee Lost Mary there, if you're so inclined. Apparently this is fashionable, but it's fashionable among 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds. So we need to do something about it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Barry. Stephen?
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second this motion, and I think it's timely that this is brought forward for debate. And it's, it would scare any parent to hear their 12-year-old saying, "I need to vape." That would scare any parent to death. So it would, the fact that the 12-year-old is seeking to vape. I think this is going to be an emerging crisis in the health of our young people. It will emerge. This is probably a new thing out there, and time really hasn't had a chance to show what the side effects of this vaping long term will be, and it really is deeply worrying. The HSE in the South has said that this is an emerging risk to the health of children and our young people, and some of the side effects is scary. E-cigarette use and vaping has been linked to acute harms, including poisons, burns, fractures, lung injuries, and asthma exacerbations. And early evidence suggests that e-cigarettes and vaping use is linked to cardiovascular and respiratory tissue damage. It goes on and on. E-cigarettes often contain nicotine, which obviously is addictive and leads to dependence. And children and young people are especially vulnerable to the effects of nicotine on their developing brains, including nicotine addiction, mood disorders, and lowering of impulse control. And then, more worryingly, it says that other drugs such as alcohol, synthetic cannabinoids, I think that's pronounced right, and opiates can be added to e-liquids and consumed through vaping. That's really scary stuff to see. This is all available to our young people. So, and as I said earlier, the longer term effects of vaping is yet to be determined. But it is worrying, and I think it's right that we should be starting the conversation among households, and parents especially should be having the conversation with their children. Are you vaping? Have you access to vapes? And just highlight the danger. So I'm very happy to second this motion that Barry's brought forward.
Okay. Thanks, Stephen. And Mark?
Thank you, Chair. I suppose firstly it goes without saying, no kid of any age should be smoking, whether it's real cigarettes or whether it's e-cigs or these vapes. As we all know, nicotine is a highly addictive substance. But there's no doubt that e-cigs have definitely helped quite a few people, perhaps of an older generation, to move away from the traditional tobacco-related cigarettes onto e-cigs. And there are merits with that, but the jury's still out in terms of long-term health implications. And according to the World Health Organization, exposure to nicotine while still in adolescence, which Barry's talking about with his age group, can lead to long-term consequences for brain development. So, and in relation to potential long-term health implications for teenagers, there are also concerns that use of such products can actually sometimes act as a gateway to the old-fashioned tobacco cigarette, which is even more damaging and more detrimental to the young people's health than these e-cigs. So that's why back in 2021, the UUP put a legal statutory rule through the Assembly that actually prohibited the sale of these e-cigs or vapes to the under 18s. And it's madness to think really that it was only until then that any young person could go into a shop and legally buy an e-cigarette or a vape. But it's in place, and we need to take it from there now. And And perhaps one idea that needs to be taken forward, and if Barry's proposal is accepted, and if there is a meeting with the Public Health Agency and all the relevant statutory bodies, one idea that needs to be taken forward is the display of these units within shops. I mean, perhaps if these e-cigs or vapes were kept behind closed displays, like the old fashioned tobacco cigarettes, then it would make it a lot more difficult for the young people to get them. And as I say, young people, legally, no shop is allowed to sell an e-cig or a vape to an under 18-year-old. So that if there are shops, even within this council area, that are doing that, they're doing that illegally as of the 1st of February last year, 2022. I mean, over the last number of years, there's been great progress made with seeing youth prevalence or youth smoking prevalence coming down. But I would worry that with the uplift and the uptake with e-cigs and vapes, that perhaps a lot of that good work is going to be lost.
Okay, thanks, Mark. And Bernard?
Chair, I just want to, this is my first time speaking, I just want to wish you all the best for the year ahead, and Anne-Marie as vice chair, sorry, and working with everybody else in the council over the next mandate. So, but yeah, vaping is increasing in popularity amongst some of our young people, including those under the age of 18 who have been obtaining vapes illegally. It is very clear the bright and colourful packaging used is attractive to young people, and the multitude of flavours creates a situation in which young people can be very easily get addicted to the substance, such as nicotine and products. And when these are obtained in a legal manner by children, they are often unregulated products and have been found to contain high volumes of lead, nickel, and chromium, which can affect the central nervous system and brain development of these young people. Government and regulation have been behind the curve in regard to vaping uptake, and action is needed to address any health issues and protect our young people from potential harm. I'm glad this motion recognises the multi-agency approach that will be needed to begin to address the issue, and the SDLP will be happy to support this motion. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Bernard. Aditi?
Thanks, Chair. The Alliance Party also will be supporting this motion. Initially, vapes have been quite useful to get people who have now been long-term smokers to move away from cigarettes, and people who maybe had failed to quit multiple times in the past and now are on long-term vapes. They've just really substituted their smoking addiction for vape addiction, still nicotine, and overall the risks for their health are now lower. But really, as has been mentioned previously by other councillors, we don't really know the full effects at this stage long term. But the recommendations are that certainly the risks are much, much lower. And we hopefully in the next 15, 20 years will see a reduction in lung cancers and the likes of that. But that's going to take quite a lot of time for us to figure that out. But the marketing of some of these products is clear that it is favourable towards young people. Their colourful packaging that Barry has demonstrated there, it is clear to see. Again, the way that they're sold in shops, cigarettes were always behind the counter. But when you walk into your local shop now, you might see that the vapes are sitting almost behind, yes, a bit of a perspex, but right at the front, right on front of the till, and kind of on the counter rather than behind the counter. And it's more eye-catching. It's easier for younger people to see, and really, the evidence is that anyone below the age of 18, it really should not be anywhere near their mouths. So. Yeah, that would be something that we could hopefully aim to see at local shops, if we can maybe arrange to have some support that shops will move to the back rather than to have it some form of agreement with local shops. That would be quite useful. I would note that the strength of the regulation in the UK has actually been quite beneficial, in that in the likes of America there have been reported cases of severe lung inflammation, we call it popcorn lung, and it's really particularly severe in younger people, and it has caused sudden death in people who maybe had a bit of mild asthma in their past. Due to the regulation in the UK, there hasn't been any really reported cases of that. So that's one thing to be sure of, is that regulated products in the UK are safer than in other countries. But in the likes of America, they've now actually banned products that aren't either nicotine flavour menthol or mint flavor. Any of those fruit flavors in America have been banned because of the promotion to younger children and young adults. So we can see that it's an issue across the world. So yes, Alliance 100% supports this motion. I bring it back to the chair. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Mark?
Thanks, Chair, and the DEP group is happy to support the motion as well. The health impacts of vaping are indeed unknown. There's a big problem with vaping in our schools and our society and communities in general amongst young people, as we've heard. And indeed, we must do what we can to highlight these issues and dangers with them, and to try and work with our young people to steer them maybe in the right direction away from these substances. And it is important that we as a council do what we can, even through our enforcement teams and things with local businesses, that the checks are being carried out, that these can't maybe be sold to underage, as seems to be the case. The young people seem to have very free access to these substances and these vapes, and they're on display in the businesses, as we've heard. So we do support the motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much. Robert?
Sorry, Chair, a slight oversight on my part, because the discussion around this has actually gone into an agency where I'm a director on, the Public Health Agency. So I'll have to declare an interest and I won't be voting on the motion, unfortunately.
Okay. Thanks, Robert. Seamus?
Thank you, Chair. I was actually doing a bit of Googling there, and some of the stats are quite frightening on this. When you see government and that stalling on and letting Alexa vape and almost run riot among young people and it seems to be very easily and freely got among young people. I noted in 2018, which is 5 years ago, it was a £2 billion industry in the UK. Now, I would suggest that you could nearly multiply that by 3 or 4 or 5, because it has actually took completely off since 2018. So if there's a £2 billion industry, it's possibly a £10 billion industry now. And I note that on every vape sold, there's 20% VAT, and there's other tax on as well. So as someone always used to say, if you want to get to the bottom of these things, follow the money. And really and truly, if we follow the money, it's tax and more tax. And the government don't give a damn about young people and their health. These ministers will be long gone when this deteriorates into a public health crisis. So, and one other stat that I noticed, I didn't even realise this: lithium. It takes lithium batteries, these things, and I think if you took the lithium out of these vapes, there's enough lithium batteries to run, I think it's 2,000 electric cars, something around that. So, and let's remember, lithium mining is one of the worst things for the environment that you could possibly do. So nearly on all levels, vaping is a public health crisis, an environmental crisis, but it's raking in the tax. So that seems to be all's good if it's bringing in tax.
Okay, that's all my speakers at this point. So I'm going to go back to Barry and ask Barry if he'd like to sum up.
I couldn't believe how quick that 5 minutes went at the beginning, Chair, but it did, obviously.
Very engaging you are, Barry.
Well, just I want to thank all the parties who contributed to that discussion. Everybody brought something different and new to the table, which was great. And latterly then, Seamus mentioned the environmental disaster menace that this is creating as well. And he mentioned lithium, batteries and aluminium, stainless steel, coated in plastic. And that there little grouping of vapes was lifted by one local person in Omagh within a few 100 meters of the town centre, and attached to that, just by way of visual as to what is happening. So I'd just like to thank everybody, including Mark. That was a good point about the legal statutory rule introduced in 2022. That was helpful and reminded me why we do need a local assembly and executive for improving legislation and matters like this. So I think I'll leave it like that. We're all agreed that we'll follow these 4 points of action and take it from there. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, members, we are all agreed. Okay, thank you, members. Okay, I'm going to move now. There's no urgent or relevant business that has been brought to my attention other than one, which I'm going to take in confidential. And I'm going to look for a proposer and second, Robert and Earl, to go into confidential. and I'll ask Alison just to, yeah, she's ready to go.
Thank you, Chair. While in confidential business, the Council confirmed and signed the confidential minutes of the Council meeting held on the 6th of June, and there were no matters arising. They received considered and approved the confidential report of the Environmental Services Committee meeting held on the 7th of June, received a matter arising, an update in relation to lands issues which had previously been discussed at committee, and agreed with a series of recommendations. Considered the confidential report of the Regeneration and Community Committee meeting held on the 13th of June, received an update in relation to legal inquiries, and finally, Chair, considered the confidential report of the Policy and Resources Committee meeting, agreed the course of action in relation to a legal matter that the committee had previously discussed, and also received a separate update, Chair, in relation to an ongoing investigation.
Okay. Proposed and second, Anna and Stephen, all agreed? Okay, members,